Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Last Place Fantasy Football Podcast. If you think this is deja vu, it's because it absolutely is. I am your
Jamie,
co-host,
wake up.
Josh. Wake up! Wake up! I am your co-host, Josh, along with my two great co-hosts and experts and fantasy extraordinaires, Ryan and Ethan. How are y'all doing today?
I'm doing great.
Doing good.
Absolutely great.
So,
Get to talk fantasy football. Of
yep,
course, it's going to be great.
fantasy football draft season around the corner. You probably just watched our rookie running backs review, which is I think one of the more fascinating positions coming out of the draft last year. And I think we start moving towards the star-studded class that is the 2022 receiver class. Cuz
hmm
goodness gracious, it's an incredible class. Just looking at some of the players we'll talk about. But the first player we're going to talk about is not a rookie from last year, not a rookie this year, but it's a veteran player that just got traded. Allen Robinson just got traded from the Rams to the Pittsburgh Steelers for essentially like a seventh round pick. And the Rams are eating a lot of that salary up already. Steelers only pay 5 million. Gentlemen, how do we feel about this trade?
I feel bad for Deontay Johnson. I don't know if it really moves a needle for me, but it could be interesting.
I mean, to
To
me,
me,
this. Oh yeah, go for it,
oh, go
Ryan.
ahead. I was just going to say, to me, it doesn't change anything. I don't think Allen Robinson is going to make an impact in Pittsburgh. I really don't. And the only picks that were swapped were seventh round picks. And I don't think this is a big trade at all. I just think it adds depth for Pittsburgh. Um, but I don't think they're gaining a whole lot of talent here. I mean, Allen Robinson, yes, he was great a couple of years ago, but he hasn't done anything really noteworthy over the last couple of years. And
Painfully.
he's had quite a cast along with him. So I don't think it's going to change going to Pittsburgh. I don't think they're adding anything significant. I think they're just adding depth.
Yeah, I could totally see depth. I can also just see that they're just furthering entrenched into 11 personnel. And
Mhm.
I think just lets them take BPA, but I think the Steelers are secretly hoping for O line to show up. And I think that they will do whatever it takes to get an offensive lineman with their first round pick. I think you can
Mhm.
almost that signed, sealed, delivered, guaranteed. And so now we're talking, is that Darnell Wright? I doubt it. He's been soaring. Paris Johnson's always been high. Maybe a Broderick Jones, maybe a Dawan Jones, maybe even a Matthew Bergeron if push comes to shove. I know I'm missing one more dude from that conversation. But as far as fantasy impact, definitely hurts Deontay. I don't know if it'll hurt Pickens, but it will only help Kenny Pickett.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it moves the needle to where like, man, Kenny Pickett's top 10 now, but I definitely think it provides some sort of stability. There's only one issue that I find uh with the Steelers offense at the moment besides the horrendous O-line, and that is actually outside speed. So that's the only thing. I think they're really banking on Calvin Austin to be that person, but their top three receivers I don't see as necessarily speed guys. So it's just going to be a lot of just intermediate throws. Maybe you go deep with George Pickens because his catch radius is that to the Pacific Ocean, but otherwise, you don't
We
have a
we
true
call it
speed
we
threat.
call it
They
the DK range.
The what range?
I said we call it the DK range.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it just extremely abnormal and a marvel of human evolution. So that's
yeah.
anything else we need to add. It's just Allen
I
Robinson.
don't really I don't really have a whole lot on that.
If he hurts you one more time, it's on you. That's all I gotta say. That's
I
all I
have
got.
no I have
He's
no
honestly one of
interest.
those guys, though. It's like you just keep letting him hurt you, and
Yeah.
just let the toxic X go.
Look,
Just let the toxic X go.
this
After his last season in Chicago, where he took a back seat and just didn't do anything, I drafted him that year, and he hurt me so bad
I drafted
that
him
I
for
I
with
just let it
Chicago.
go, and I was like, "Nope, I'm not letting this man hurt me
Yeah,
again.
that was
I'm
painful.
done."
That I mean, I we y'all saw it. I drafted him 4th round of the
Yeah,
Dynasty starter draft, thinking I had 3 years. Nope. Maybe
yeah,
3 games.
Josh has been hurt worse than any of us else.
Yeah, that was painful.
yeah.
I do wanna bring up the Rams side to this, though, and I do wonder what happens to Stafford and Cup, because now there's not another receiver on this team.
Yeah,
And I do find that concerning to where it's like, "Ooh, that may stop me from, like, throwing in Cooper Cup as a 1st or 2nd round pick or relying on Stafford." I just there's too many holes with that team, and I don't know if there's enough money to go around to fix it.
I agree with that. I think they're in a bit of a situation where
Yeah,
there's not a whole lot of talent on that offense anymore. They've
yeah, they just
they've
need to
kind
cut,
of
rebuild through the
they've
draft.
Well, can
exactly.
they?
I
I
they've just burned. They've burned through a lot of their talent, and it's gonna be hard because they again, like Josh, like you just said, like they don't can they? They don't have a whole lot over the next couple of years. That's
they
or a whole lot of draft capital that they can spend on.
Alrighty. So let me just look up trades because I think trades post June 1st is going to be their best bet. So I'm looking at this through over the cap. They have 7 million in cap space right now. That's a major yikes. Like literally it's a lot of it's just in their top players. Cooper Cup, Aaron Donald, Matthew Stafford are your top player. Now, if they were cut before June 1st, look away. The cap hits are absolutely insane.
Yeah, they're not
But
gonna get rid of them.
yeah, I'm concerned. This means you're probably rolling with Cam Akers again. You're probably looking at Van Jefferson again. But the over reliance on Cooper Cup and Stafford another year later into this, that concerns me to where I would even say Dynasty just rip the Band-Aid now. It it will never hurt to be early, but if you're too late on getting rid of them, this gets problematic.
Yep, exactly.
Mhm.
All right. Is that about it, everybody?
Yep, that's
Let's
it. Let's
see.
get into the picks.
Allen Robinson has 21 million in dead money. Oh, this is bad. they have
Yeah,
s-
it's bad.
the Rams have 74 million in dead cap.
Yeah, that's a good chunk of your cap space.
Yeah.
So
That's what 74 out
I
of
don't.
220.
One could argue,
Yeah,
Josh, it's never been worse.
That is true. I don't think it has.
yeah, that's not good on their part. But you do what you got to do, I guess.
Yep. So let's talk about something good instead. And let's talk about the receiver class that was the 2022 wide receiver class. Because my
Everything we
goodness,
hoped it would be.
yes, 100% everything you hoped it would be. It's fantastic. Like I was just chuckling, just like literally writing in each name. I'm like, dang, he hit. So, like, and I did that like almost 7, 8 times going with each player. We do have quite a few people on the incomplete list that I think we should spend a little time on because I do think they are potential pieces that could be interesting. But gentlemen, I think we should start with the Atlanta fan here. Let's talk about Drake London. What tier is Drake London?
I mean, there's a lot of ifs associated. He's not like Algier, who we just talked about, where it's like he's the clear dude. They want to run the football. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, he had a connection with Ritter, but what does that really mean? So, I mean, I could see him being like a low tier 2 wide receiver. I mean, maybe tier 3, but I really don't know. It depends on how good that connection is with Ritter and how many steps forward that Ritter takes.
I'm gonna say tier 2, um, with the potential of tier 1, but Ryan, what do you think?
I think there's loads of talent in this guy. I think he's a top tier two. Um, I haven't seen the consistency that I want to see in him. Um, and it might have been quarterback play last year.
Might
I
have.
liked the numbers that he was
He
putting
had
up
Ryan, he
when
had
Ritter
Marcus
was in.
Mariota, who had the highest overthrow percentage in the NFL with the
I
monster squad at wide receiver.
Yeah, I understand that. So I liked the numbers when Ritter was in, but I'd like a more of a sample size than just 4 games.
Yeah, I think
So
I said this.
if I see consistent numbers at the beginning of this year, um, of him performing, I'm very hopeful to put him in a top tier
Yeah, could not
as a
agree
wide
more.
receiver.
Yeah, I think he has a very clear shot to be tier 1, but it really does depend on, 1, does Kyle Pitts finally take the step this year? And 2, does Ritter even take a step? And because if
Hmm.
Ritter can even just be
And
half as not as
then
bad as Mariota,
Yeah, and
Drake London should be
another
fine.
yeah, another one of my concerns is finding the end zone. Um, that's one thing that he needs to do, and there's a lot of end zone threats on that team in Kyle Pitts, Jonnu Smith, you know, and Algier. I think
well,
it's gonna
here's
be
here's what's hard.
it's unless they're high scoring this year, it's gonna be hard for him to find the end zone.
So
So I
Ryan,
think,
here's what's difficult with him.
yeah,
He's on the Arthur Smith team, and when Arthur Smith gets in the red zone, they run the ball. They run you over.
yep,
So now you might have a couple of trick plays, but a lot of the trick plays too, as we saw with the last 4 games with Ritter, a lot of it was like tight ends kind of sneaking out or getting caught up in commotion and then just being wide open.
yeah. And there's two things that really put points on the board when it comes to fantasy, and that is if you're in a PPR league, that's receptions and touchdowns. Now, I think he's got the potential to have the receptions. It's just the touchdowns that I'm concerned about. So, that may lower him a little bit in my rankings this year, or at least going into this year. Um, I just don't want it to be another like Mike Evans type situation where he's very touchdown reliant. So you just got to watch it if you're drafting them this year.
Yeah, so I'm looking through the stats. I kind of just did the quick math on it. Drake London had a touchdown every 18 catches. Yeah, that's about I mean, roughly one
That's
every three
about once,
games.
yeah, once every
Yeah,
three or
one
four
every 2
And
games, and
games.
that's
that's it.
yeah,
Well,
so
I would
that's
say with Ritter, that's every 2 games because
yeah,
he's going to be targeted in that 10
Yeah,
to 15
yeah.
range.
So
yeah, but
let's look at Ritter then.
yeah,
I mean, that was for the
look at his
season.
targets. Look at his targets with Ritter. He
11,
never
9,
got
8, 8.
he never got a touchdown in all 4 games that he played with Ritter, and he was targeted almost, what was it, 26 times?
So do you guys think Drake London is a potential positive regression candidate? Because I think if we base it off the
Yeah.
numbers, because even Pittsburgh, he had 12 targets. So you can even say it's like, hey, he kind of figured it out week 13.
I think he will regress, yeah, forward in terms of actually getting touchdowns and being a little bit more consistent than what he was, just because of how strong his connection is with Ritter. But I mean, even if
Mhm.
they are to draft a QB, or if Heineke takes over, he's really the best they have,
Heineke's all. I mean, we saw it last year with Terry McLaurin. He is not afraid to just, oh, you're one on one, let's go.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think that's where Mariota, where it's like, ooh, the window's not the greatest. I'm not going to throw it. And I think with Heineke, he has, not, I wouldn't say moxie. I just think it's the courage to just go, you go get it. You're 6'4", go get it. And I think that can help at least gather some big chunk plays for Drake London. I definitely say tier 2 at the moment. Are we in agreement there?
Yeah, I'd say tier 2.
Yeah, I think tier 2.
All righty. Let's talk about the next quarterback. And I think that let's say
Whoa.
he thank you.
Next wide receiver.
The next wide receiver
So
with
we're back on QBs amendment
yeah,
episode.
yeah. Let's just talk about this next wide receiver with the supposed quarterback. So let's talk about Garrett Wilson.
That
What
hasn't
tier?
happened yet.
That I know this that it's getting
And
to the point where it's like
Rodgers, we
ugh,
trust.
Yeah. So the supposed quarterback is Aaron Rodgers.
Rodgers.
For
It's
Is
not
those
going to
Aaron
happen.
listening,
Watch, dude. They signed
we
all these
don't
people
know.
like superstar wide receiver room. Don't get Aaron Rodgers.
I mean, it's the complete inverse of what Kansas City did.
Yep. And who won the Super Bowl, Josh? Just because I forgot in my recollection.
I believe that it was the Kansas City Chiefs.
Oh, that's interesting.
So Garrett Wilson, if Aaron Rodgers is a New York Jet, is tier 1.
Yes. 100%. I think
I don't know.
I just think
I
he's
think
the
as a low end,
It's too
tier
crowded.
1.
It's too crowded for me.
oh no, I will tell
I don't. I
Corey
don't think
Davis
it's too
is
crowded.
hold on. I gotta look up Corey Davis because I think they're waiting till June 1st to cut Corey
Yeah,
Davis.
I'm pretty sure Corey Davis is getting cut.
And
And
then
they
he already
have Allen. They also have Alan Lazard and Mecole Hardman that they just brought in.
It's crowded, and that's the only thing that has me worried for Garrett Wilson. He is that good. Like, I don't want it to sound like I don't like Garrett Wilson. He is that good.
wow, Corey Davis. Why hasn't he been cut yet? Last year of his deal, it's not even $1 million in dead cap if he's cut now.
They probably want to keep him.
No,
I
they're waiting to take him out
here
back and shoot him in the head.
he would save $10.5 million in cap right now. And
Dang.
man, interesting. I'll be honest with you. I think he's definitely a cap casualty candidate because I mean, there's Lazard, there's Wilson, there's Hardman. I know they got rid of Elijah Moore, which terrible move, in my opinion. But I think with Garrett Wilson, the thing that makes me excited about him, even with everyone else, is that he can do everyone else's job. Like he has the skill set to do that. Like Cole can't be the physical dude. Corey Davis can't be the speed dude, but Garrett Wilson can do both. So that's why I
Mhm.
still think it's tier 1 for me.
So I think with Aaron Rodgers, I actually see him as lower because I think Zach Wilson likes him more than bringing in Mecole Hardman and Alan Lazard. Whereas if it's Aaron Rodgers, I think Rodgers is going to be more comfortable with Lazard. So that's his go-to guy. And then, sprinkle it into Garrett, but not as much as you would see if it was just Zach Wilson, QB.
I think it's very possible with Garrett
I'm not saying that's how
Yeah,
it's going to go because obviously Garrett Wilson is that good,
there
but I'm
is
just saying potentially.
there is a multiverse where that occurs.
Oh,
I
all
mean,
right. Let's
yeah.
get out the
Oh,
whiteboard
there
and
is
drop the
okay.
multiverse of what happens.
Yeah, yeah.
Lamar gets traded to the Jets.
Let's not do that. I don't like this Flacco verse.
Welcome back to the Flacco verse.
The Flacco verse has returned full force.
No, but in all seriousness though, I think Garrett Wilson has the potential to be a top tier 1.
Yes.
but it does depend on the chemistry that he'll have because there's not a whole lot of trust. Aaron Rodgers doesn't really trust rookie wide receivers. Now, him going in there,
Granted,
being
he's
in
not a
there for a
rookie anymore,
year,
but still.
I know, but he's been in the league for a year, yes. But,
But
he's
you're
still
still
young.
new.
He's
Yeah.
still young.
No, you're right.
So, and he's new to Aaron Rodgers. I mean, I it's gonna be interesting. Now, let's let's just consider this. What happens if Aaron Rodgers doesn't get traded? What if he retires?
Or Green Bay just says, "Nah, we're not
Listen, I
trading
don't
him."
hate Zach Wilson. I think he just needs to
I
get serious.
I think I mean, this was Zach Wilson's wake-up call, and they could have they could have gotten rid of him, and the fact is they haven't,
Yep.
and they got rid of Mike LaFleur instead. I think that speaks volumes to A, we gotta find a way to make Zach work, and B, we're more willing to bet that Mike LaFleur had no idea what he was doing, which is something that we said last year.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, it just didn't work out. So I think with Zach, and especially with Hackett, I think Hackett can at least guide quarterbacks because I know he did it pretty good with Bortles to where it was serviceable. Now,
Yeah,
Bortles should have never been the fifth pick, but that's a whole nother discussion. It's
that's another
Hackett,
multiverse.
yeah, that's another multiverse. Hackett at least made it work in some degree to where Zach, if he can just grow, if he like literally just grow, learn, develop the offense, understand what needs to be done, which the best part is Alan Lazard can help you teach that from the receiver's perspective. That's
Mhm.
why I think that deal is super underrated, is because he's going to get everybody on the same page really quickly. I think Garrett Wilson, tier 2 is the lowest, barring injury.
Yeah. I mean, Zach, just leave your mom's friends alone and you should be okay.
I can agree with that.
And with that, I think we should go to our next one. Do you have a final thought, Ryan?
Nope.
All right, Chris
All
Olave it
right.
is.
Yeah, I
Josh,
apologize.
I think you should take the first take on Olave. I know you've been kind of doing a lot, but I know you want to talk about him the most.
Olave.
Chris Olave is tier 2.
Yeah, he's just solid, you know.
Depending on
Yeah.
yeah.
And the only
I
reason
I
oh,
agree with that. It I want to see him and Derek Carr together. I haven't seen them play together yet. I I think there's definitely tier 2 potential there.
Well,
here's
Derek Carr's a good QB. Like we forget that sometimes.
He
I feel
is.
like.
No,
yeah,
he is.
he's
I mean,
good.
look at
Yeah.
Devontae Adams last year. Like Devontae Adams thrived with him.
And that
So
was brand new system, everything. And I think with Derek Carr, like the Lombardi offense it'll figure itself out. So like New Orleans, it's pretty solid. It's a kind of a derivative of Sean Payton. I think he'll be fine. My big issue is if the wheels fall apart on the rest of the offense because Kamara,
He's going to be
well,
suspended.
yeah,
He's going to be suspended.
at some point during the season, that's coming. And then we're talking, are you banking on Michael Thomas being good 4 year, like 3 years post the injury? Are you banking on, well, Jarvis Landry's still a free agent, so there's no one else there. There's Jawan Johnson, or banking on the O line being solid again. Like,
Yeah.
so there's a lot of pieces, and this is something I think we
Hold on,
talked about this in the middle of the
Josh?
season.
Do we see the Saints go Zay Flowers in the draft?
I think it's very possible. Like, because I think
it's
they have to get
it's
younger.
possible. I think they're
Yeah.
gonna go running back.
No, not first.
Mm, I could see him like
Maybe not.
second,
Maybe not
tier,
in the
just in
first
the
Look,
round.
second,
because
but
if
Yeah, maybe not. No, maybe not in the first round.
the
But I
only
think they are
yeah,
going to draft a replacement for Kamara.
Yeah, I think the replacement at pick 40, Jahmyr Gibbs might be there.
Mhm.
And Jahmyr Gibbs is very D'Angelo Williams to me, and I would make that move 10 times out of 10. If he's not there, I think Zach Charbonnet gets very interesting in that system. But overall, I definitely think 29 is going to be used on a premium spot because those guys are getting older. So whether it's corner,
Mhm.
Yeah.
which I doubt, I think the corner run might be done by then. So you could potentially look at Addison and Zay Flowers still being there. You can look at maybe even O line. Do you want to bulk up tight end because Troutman basically became a disaster? You have Jawan Johnson. You can also go edge. You
Tight
can
end
go
could really be in play. I think that'd be a sneaky good move for New Orleans to get like Washington in the late 20s.
I think Darnell gets very interesting. I also personally think Darnell might be the play at 28 for Cincy if they can't fix O line.
That's honestly, that's who I'm hoping he goes to is Cincy, just because.
I don't because I love Darnell Washington and I will move heaven and earth for to get him on the Ravens, even though it's not a receiver. But
We can make this work with Mandrews at wide receiver and gosh, who do they have? Do they
they
have
have
Jawan?
no,
Oh,
they
they
have
have
likely.
Likely, that's right. With
Uh,
Likely at wide receiver two, and then Darnell Washington at wide receiver. We don't
And then
need actual wide receivers.
yeah.
We'll just need tight
See,
ends.
so yeah, so I mean
I'm
that
Greg Roman.
yeah, I'm Greg Roman. Though, as much as I do praise and I understand some of the detractions there, but yeah, so I think tight end becomes a very legitimate play in that spot. But they do a lot of their premium spots. They have to get younger,
mhm.
and
Yeah.
I definitely think wide receiver is going to be one of them. So, but Olave, he's just going to be super solid. I just don't see the ceiling yet until the pieces are there. If the if the
Yeah,
if the pieces can there and the offense is starting to click, then I'll start considering Chris Olave tier one. Um, let's talk about the one dude I'm excited about though, Jahan Dotson. Where do we have him?
I got him tier three.
low tier. Yeah, I was gonna say low tier two for me. I
I
think
got
there's a lot of
yeah.
potential, but I think Scary Terry's gonna be just he's in his way. So
Yeah,
I
I
don't know.
think Johnson can replace him. I'm excited from this season, especially with B and enemy. Um, it's just I'm never gonna pronounce his name right, and that's
You're
just
gonna
Oh
no,
man.
just say it different. Say it different every single time you
Yeah,
say his name.
you're just gonna have to run with it, and then whenever we get Eric Bieniemy on the show, that we're just gonna have to show him a compilation of like, look, we apologize that one of our co-hosts can't speak the English language, but
yeah. I mean, by nine, he's just too elite to fail.
ah, beautiful, already. So we just have a version of like a Washington Commanders jersey, but it's all the different ways you said Bieniemy as the player's name on the back.
We'd have like 8 jerseys.
Oh yeah, at least 8.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, so Jahan Dotson here. I think tier 2 and super solid. I
He's
don't
only
think
gonna be
Terry.
rated one. He's a homer, everyone.
Well, here's the thing. I don't think Terry gets in the way as much as people think. I think it depends on the quarterback.
That's
It's
fair. I mean,
true. I mean,
and how
whoever has more, yeah, whoever has that connection with him is gonna boost him up over Terry. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And I do think that because I do also want to bring this up. I have no sources or anything like that to base it off of.
That means
It's
it's about to
just
be a
been
great take.
what you say?
I said that means this is about to be a great take.
I think you I think tight ends in play for Washington at 18. And the only reason why I think that is
Basically,
because
Logan Thomas is trash. Go ahead.
but think of where Bieniemy just left.
Yeah, yeah.
And if that offense is centered around tight end, you are going to need a younger tight end to kind of like get things going.
No,
And
that's a
they
fair point.
haven't done anything in free agency. So that's at the tight end position, just to clarify. So that's where it's like if that's the case, Dotson gets I mean maybe like that's where tier 2 starts worrying me. I'd be worried a little bit, but I just think the explosiveness is just there with Jahan Dotson and even more so than Terry. To where
Mhm.
I think there's going to be a lot more chunk plays with Dotson.
Can we backpedal for just one quick second, and then I'm going
Yeah,
to move on to Christian Watson. But with what we were kind of talking about before the show, do you think if Atlanta trades back and takes Jackson and Jigba Smith, or Smith and Jigba, I'm gonna say everyone's name wrong. Jackson Smith and
I
Jigba,
was like, who are you talking about?
Jackson Smith and Jigba. Do you think that affects Drake London? How much do you think that elevates him? Do you think that takes away?
elevates.
I
I I I feel like elevates. Yeah.
But the only reason why
potentially,
is
yes.
it's because you do need a competent number 2 receiver. I think the NFL has shifted towards that. And I think like I even think of like bare bones setup. So like the Ravens last year, Bateman and Andrews helped each other get open looks, and
Right.
and I think Pitts could do that for London, right?
Right.
But I do think how condensed Arthur Smith has that offense, especially because
Well,
it's a lot of like your traditional like power sets, so like your I formation, strong, and all that. I do think that having a secondary boundary receiver like a JSN, who could do both, or if you want to go Zay Flowers in that regard, probably not at 8, but just another boundary receiver should open things up in the middle
yeah.
for Drake London.
Well, a real stat about stats for you, Josh. Um, Drake London was doing well at the beginning of the season until Pitts got hurt.
Yeah, it
I think that's a pretty solid indication.
I think Pitts was getting Drake London open, and now John Smith is going to help get Pitts open. And
And then
especially
Pitts
because
is going to help Drake get open. And then Drake's going to help
well,
Hollins get open. And then Hollins is going to help Desmond Ritter run down the field for 100 yards a game.
so I do think John
Because
Smith's
that's how
there.
that works.
Because
I,
that is science. And I'm a mathematician. Continue, Josh.
I thought you were a
Oh my God.
salesman, but
Where am
He's
I?
whatever he's whatever he needs to be in the moment.
so I think yeah. So I think with Drake London in that regard, I think John Smith is actually going to help Kyle Pitts more because John Smith knows that system too. It's like, oh hey, and so it's just the small things in practice where you go, hey, when Arthur Smith is saying do this, you could try this, or there's different ways to get open because John Smith had his career made by Arthur Smith, and Arthur Smith is tight end based anyway. It's
Yeah.
all just about unlocking it and probably
Back,
just even helping out even better in run blocking too.
yeah. Back on track. Christian Watson. Let's talk about it. I've got F tier, absolute dumpster fire for him, but go ahead.
Ah man. Ah. If Aaron Rodgers was still a Green Bay Packer, he's tier 1. But because we're dealing
Yes.
with the unknown of Jordan Love, I have to say tier 4 for the moment.
Ooh. I
Yeah.
agree.
He
It's hard
has
to say, but I agree.
he has a
I hate
ton of
saying that.
potential. He has a ton of potential just because of his speed and his athleticism.
Yeah. And
And
He
he
his
uses his
is
size,
he's
unlike a
insane.
certain
Yeah,
receiver
massive,
this draft.
yeah, he's big and he is fast. Seeing
and he
him
glides
just
like a little antelope.
yeah, yeah, seeing him streak across that field, I was like, holy crap, that dude can run. Like my
Yeah.
lord. So, I think there's potential for him to be a deep threat. And obviously, I mean, it showed that 4 game stretch where he had what, 7 touchdowns
Yeah, oh, it
in
was
4
insane.
Yeah,
games?
that
Yeah,
was
it
the
was insane.
craziest stretch I think I've
That
seen
was
out of a
that
rookie receiver.
it was nuts. So, seeing that, I think, yes, not having Aaron Rodgers as a QB is definitely going to impact that. But
Yeah.
I think it proves after the bye week, it dropped off of a cliff, his production. So I, I don't know. I would
I
put him in that tier, that
I'm
same tier,
yeah,
tier 4.
our average tier, which is tier 4. I think if he ends up being tier 1 by the end of the year, makes sense. If he's even tier 5, also makes sense.
Yeah.
He has the widest range of outcomes, especially in this transition year for Green Bay.
And that's
Um,
Christian.
yeah, that's Christian Watson.
Are we ready for the next dumpster fire?
Um,
The
can
biggest dumpster fire this year.
Who's that wide receiver? It
Treylon Burks.
no, it's
Is it?
not
Is it?
AJ Brown.
I was gonna say,
Oh
is it
yeah,
AJ Brown? No.
Everyone was
guys.
on the same page except for you, Josh.
Yeah, sorry. Convince me why he should not be higher than tier 4.
All
He's
right,
tier
and that's
yeah.
Traylon Burks. Let's go to Sky
Yeah,
Moore.
that's
I
literally it.
can't,
Uh,
man, I
Here
can't
so
convince
here's
you. I
yeah,
can't
here
convince you.
I don't
honestly,
want to convince you.
hey, I'm gonna be honest with you. I had half a mind to say tier 5. And the only reason why I say that is because one, I don't know if we saw enough at the player last year, whether it's injury, whether it's a bunch of other stuff, just with how the offense was set up, especially with Todd Downing. I didn't like what I saw. And if you thought it was AJ Brown, he's not sudden like AJ Brown. So like similar build, not the same player. I think also the issue with Traylon Burks is that the offense is going through a transition. Derrick Henry's not getting younger. We have no idea what quarterback's going to be at whether it's Malik Willis or are they going to look at quarterback that's been rumored. And especially if Houston doesn't take CJ Stroud or if they don't take Anthony Richardson or if they don't take anyone at that number 2 spot, oh, the door's wide open to who trades into the top 10. And I
Yeah.
think Tennessee could be one of them. And I mean, they fired John Robinson because of the literally solely over the AJ Brown trade. So I think it's fair to say tier 5 for the moment. I I also just don't see tier 1 at all.
Well, it's
I think
what's so crazy to me is he makes that trade right for Traylon Burks, throws a dart and misses all of the good wide receivers.
and you know what's crazy? Guess who was picked the one pick after?
It was Garrett Wilson, wasn't it?
Dotson.
It was Dotson.
So I think that's the crazy thing about the draft last year was everyone knew the Ravens wanted a receiver. And so that's why you started seeing Drake London 8, Garrett Wilson 10, trade, well, who was it? Chris Olave 11, trade Jameson Williams 12. And then so that left with the Ravens going, crap, I guess we're just gonna go with Kyle Hamilton. And so that was the tier the Ravens had. And then the AJ Brown trade comes right after, essentially after not I think it was a Hollywood Brown trade after 14, and then the AJ Brown trade, and then they took Traylon Burks. So
Yeah.
Arguably
you can
like the
all
worst trade ever.
yeah, you can already see that there was a teardrop within the receivers. So I
Mhm.
feel like that's where it's like you don't take what's proven because you didn't want to pay him 25 mil a year. But now look at what happened. And you put all your hopes and dreams into this receiver from Arkansas who was pretty solid, but had a lot of learning to do going into the league. And so, and and on top of that, he just didn't show to be a difference maker and was hurt constantly. Like I don't know. I think tier 4 is being generous at this point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no,
Like I think I would say
that's
tier 5 unless the offense changes.
yeah, and I think that's where you can kind of move on to Sky Moore.
Yep. And now the question with Sky Moore is the sky the limit?
All right, and that's enough of that.
Okay, that's it. All right. So, uh,
I,
tier 3, maybe.
I think that's his potential.
I would
That's
say
the
tier
highest potential.
I'm going to say tier 4 for Sky Moore, and the only reason why is because essentially they replaced Juju Smith-Schuster with either Justin Ross or Kadarius Toney, and
I
what
think it's
the
Justin Ross.
yeah, I think so too, Justin Ross, that dude. And then, but even then, what Kansas City just showed is that you don't need the receivers to be consistently producing week in, week out. It doesn't have to be the same receiver. It just has to be a receiver.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah,
that
Pacheco runs
was
for 5 yards a game. Kelsey receives for 120, and you win every football game you play.
yeah, their most consistent player was Kelsey. That was the key. And I think it was so frustrating in fantasy last year because you're going, all right, is it going to be MVS? Is it going to be Juju? Is it going to be Sky Moore? Maybe this is the week, and you were
The
stuck
answer is
having to
no.
guess in your flex.
Exactly.
There was no one you can put in your wide receiver 1 or 2 slot,
Yeah.
and
Yeah, and
unless
that's
like
why I was so
yeah,
low. I was so low on Kansas City's wide receivers just because of all the question marks of, to be honest, the lack of talent. I
Yeah.
didn't see I didn't see a wide receiver 1 there. I saw
No.
a bunch of wide receiver 2s that want to be number 1s,
and what's crazy
and
is that
that's
it
it.
worked. It
It worked.
worked.
It worked because you have Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
No, it worked
I mean,
because
that's
nobody wanted to guard any of them because they were all bad. And then every other game it worked for someone.
Yeah, so
yeah,
now it goes, "Go through my Rolodex, whatever your defense is bad in, I have a receiver who can exploit that,"
yeah.
as you focus on stopping one of the greatest tight ends of all time.
But there's no bind my, so
Yeah, the sky is indeed not the ceiling for
yeah.
Sky Moore. So tier
But
4.
for Pickens, on the other hand,
Oh, Pickens. Whoo, buddy.
tier two, I think.
Tier 2.
Tier
Yeah.
2, 100%. I don't care, even with Allen Robinson trade, he is the number 1 dude in Pittsburgh.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's
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 just
gonna
Enough
nasty.
be
said.
He's got good chemistry with Kenny Pickett. I like
Yeah.
him.
yeah.
Yeah, I think Kenny Pickett just needs
Pickett
to
Pickens. Pickens connection.
The Pickett to Pickens.
yeah,
Yeah.
Peter Piper, Kenny Pickett,
Pickett
George Pickens.
picked
So
a touchdown.
Yeah, their GM must have had fun with
for
that.
Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Picking, yeah, Pittsburgh,
Picking Pickett
Pickett,
and
Pickett
Pickens.
and
Well,
Pickens.
we're gonna workshop this. We're gonna workshop this. Yeah. So I want to know how high y'all think. Is there a tier 1 possibility for George Pickens?
Yes,
I'm right
yes.
there with you. I think there. I
But
think
a
there's a
lot,
chance.
but the stars need to align for that to
Yep.
happen.
Yeah.
And I think that means Najee takes a back seat.
But they can't.
Not
They can't.
necessarily. Not necessarily.
I say I'll say back seat as far as passing work.
Yes. He
Mm,
needs to
mm,
be a
mm.
grinder, but as long as they're still pushing the ball down
I mean,
to
it could be an AB um, Le'Veon Bell situation. So you could have that happen.
It could, and I mean, so wide receiver 2 wasn't much on that team. Like you were getting a chunk play here or there, whether it was Martavis Bryant. I'm using the AB Le'Veon example here. Um, in that case, it probably means Muth takes a massive backseat to where Muth becomes unplayable if Najee and Pickens are taking off.
yeah. I mean, other than that, like everyone else is pretty irrelevant, I think.
On our list. I mean, let's bring
Other
it
than
up.
like maybe Alec Pearson James.
Well,
Okay.
and Dubs or Dobbs,
Yeah.
whatever.
Okay,
But
so
Dobbs,
Dobbs is like in
No.
the same
Dubs.
category as Watson.
I'm gonna put Dubs at tier 5. Let's so Romeo Dubs, I have at tier 5, and the only reason why is if we're going to drop Christian Watson that low, you got to do the same for Romeo Dubs. But he
Yeah,
Yeah,
doesn't
that's
David.
what
have
I'm saying.
Yeah,
any
They're
of
at the
the
same
game
level.
breaking ability that
yeah.
Christian Watson has.
Yeah, David
So
Bell
David
sucks.
Dave,
Bell,
tier 5.
tier 10, tier
Tier
10.
Oh, tier
tier
10.
11.
Oh, 11. Got it. All right. I agree with that 100%. And especially after the Elijah Moore trade. So if you want to think about this run heavy offense and your wide receiver 4.
But Alec Pierce, there's hope, especially if
Yes.
they can get Chris Young or CJ Stroud at 4 by some miracle. Maybe Houston
I
Oh,
wants to
it's
do
think
a little
too.
possible.
picks.
There's a quarterback making it the 4.
I would honestly, I would give him a tier 3
I was thinking the exact same
because
thing.
he had flashes. He had flashes to where he was really impressive. Where I like the way he moved, I like the way he caught. Um, he knows how to play ball. He just doesn't have someone to throw it to him. So, because I mean, Matt Ryan did not perform very well last year. He did not,
No.
and he was only there for half a year, and then
But the
pretty
O-line
much,
also sold out.
yeah. Well, and the Colts kind of imploded. So
Yeah, completely
you know,
imploded.
I I think, and it showed because up until week 9, he had decent numbers, not fantasy wise, but he had decent numbers.
For
And
a third
and
round
after
rookie.
that, and after that, he just disappeared.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
And
with that, the last thing we're looking forward to is what, JMO?
yeah, so we have a couple
Well,
players on our incomplete
yeah,
list.
we just
That
want to
they
gloss over him.
Yeah, just want to gloss over. Those names are going to be Jameson Williams, Wandale Robinson, Khalil Shakir, and Tyquan Thornton. I would
All
say
of them dealt with injuries.
Jameson Williams, if he hits this year, I think is tier 1 ability. I know, but I'm also way higher on him than everyone else is. I understand that.
By a lot.
I think Wandale and Khalil Shakir get interesting.
Wandale has a lot of
Wando,
potential.
Yeah, it's
Wandale
just
has a lot of potential. I think it's going to be Isaiah Hodgins and Wandale taking over that wide receiver room.
I mean, they have
interesting.
to. They don't
I
have
mean,
anyone else.
there's Slayton, there's Paris Campbell. Like actually, the Giants wide receiver room got very clogged. But I think they're just gonna do. They're just you're playing New York roulette to see which quarterback, not quarterback, which wide receiver doesn't get hurt.
Yeah.
Because
With that,
that's also
Josh.
including Sterling Shepard as well.
Josh, you have questions.
Yes, I do have questions. So, gentlemen, I asked you this for the running backs episode. I ask you again for wide receivers. Who are you most confident in, and who are you least confident in?
That's tough. I
Um. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm just trying to figure it out in my head.
I'm gonna say I'm most confident in Drake London because there's a lot of good things happening in
Yeah.
Atlanta. I think I'm pretty confident he's gonna be a top tier wide receiver, but I don't know.
I,
I think I'm gonna put him as my most confident that he's gonna be
I would
good.
say I'm most confident in Drake London and Desmond Ritter together.
I think I'm most confident in Olave. Even though I know the ceiling's
That's
not
fair.
high, I think the floor gives me that confidence within the next 3 to 5 years as a
Yeah,
receiver.
Yeah.
Uh, all right, I think we all have the same answer. Who are you least confident in?
Traylon.
Traylon Burks.
Traylon. Yeah, I feel like that one's the
Anti
easiest one.
AJ Brown.
Yeah, the anti-age, the
The
anti.
Anti.
not AJ, the not AJ Brown.
That's his Twitter account name. Alrighty, so let's go with the next one. Who breaks the
Ouch.
top 5 first?
AJ Never Open is his Twitter handle.
Oh.
Or 1K Never Open.
At
Okay,
Arkansas Assassin.
so what's yours?
Here's the question. Who breaks the top 5 first out of this group of 2022 rookies?
Garrett Wilson.
Yeah. Yeah.
Garrett Wilson. Yeah. I feel like that one is pretty solid.
Me
All
I
right.
think
too.
he's made a lot of headway.
Yep. 5+ years from now, who is the best wide receiver?
Drake London. Drake London.
Olave.
Oh, boos from the crowd.
Um, George Pickens.
Ooh,
Whoa.
Pickens. Interesting.
And I hate to say it, but George
Interesting.
Pickens is an alien.
He is a freak.
All right.
And I just think it's just the most consistent opportunity out there for sure. He's also the best run blocker out of this entire group. So here is the question. I asked this for running back. So your most confident guy, I believe it was Drake London or Olave. How many draft picks are you giving up for him?
Or the person we're most confident in.
Yes. And then if you out of this
Wait,
list, who would you trade first?
I'd probably
wait.
give up a
I'll tell you what I spent on Olave.
Oh,
I'd give up a first for Drake while Ryan's picking that up. And I'd probably trade away Garrett Wilson.
yeah, I was about to say Garrett Wilson is the one I trade away.
Because I think I could get the most for him.
I think I can buy low on Dotson. Wait, well,
You
yeah,
did.
I
You
did.
buy on Watson.
I did. Okay, I won't pick Dotson. I think with man, man, oh man, oh man.
Okay, you let me know when you want to hear what I
Yeah,
paid
I,
for
I want I
Olave.
want to hear it. I want to hear it.
I traded Kyler Murray for Olave and a 23 second.
Hmm.
And
Interesting.
Wow.
this was Kyler Murray 2 days before he tore his ACL.
Oh, so this
That's
is
cool, Ryan.
pre-injury. Wow, that is a
This was
bold.
pre-injury.
Wow.
I mean, I think he won that. It's safe to say.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think Olave for a first is pretty popular, and I think it's just because of the consistency. Because Garrett
Yeah.
Wilson, if the Aaron Rodgers deal falls through, then you better start getting like 2+ picks for it because I think that will go off.
Yeah.
Drake London, I think, is dependent on Ritter. So if you're confident in Ritter, I say you do whatever it takes to make the stack.
Yeah.
Dotson, you're banking a little more on chunk plays, but you're hoping he takes away some of Curtis Samuel's targets. And then if you have Jordan Love and Christian Watson is still going off,
You want him.
then I
You like
I
him?
I would say borderline heaven and earth for Christian Watson, but it's all dependent on the quarterbacks, which is my last question. Who is the most dependent on their quarterback out of this group?
Ooh, it's probably Olave. It's probably really Olave.
I'm gonna
I could definitely argue Garrett Wilson too, but for me it's Olave.
I'm gonna
Especially
say Christian Watson.
yeah, I don't think he's at the same talent level as London, Olave, and Wilson. Is
That's fair. I asked this question just off of like who needs their quarterback to be good more
I mean, if you're talking
to be
about
good.
absolute desperation hour, yeah, it's Christian Watson. Because if not, he's just going to be useless.
Traylon Burks doesn't need a quarterback to be useless.
Traylon needs Traylon.
Man,
This
man,
is
because
this is
I
the
mean, we
Hate
saw
on Traylon podcast.
yeah, oh man, man, Traylon's
Welcome
just
back
catching
to the
strays.
welcome back to the Trailer Hurt My Feelings podcast.
I will tell you though, I have done mock drafts considering the draft is coming up. I have always put either O line or Quentin Johnson at 11 for the Titans.
Oh gosh, they're that desperate.
There's a possibility. But and a lot of that is because I think I mean, Quentin Johnson's Kevin White for me, minus the jump ball
Oh
ability.
no. All
Yeah,
right, this is our final thought.
yeah, that's
This
our
is
final
our final
thought. Yeah,
thought
let's
before we
not.
get completely
Yeah,
Final
disrespectful.
thought, yeah.
yeah, I say let's not talk about that because we will talk about a player like Quentin Johnson next week. So we haven't announced it yet, but we are planning a live stream of the first round of the NFL draft. And if it's just as exciting as 2022 was, this is going to be a fun live stream you don't want to miss. So we will get those information and all those details out to you very shortly, but just check us out. We'll always have that live stream up for the first round for you.
Yeah, and
Right.
we'll be posting that where we're gonna do it, when, all the live stream information on our social media. So just be looking out. So thank you guys for listening. We appreciate all you guys who listen to our podcast and watch our YouTube videos. Make sure to like and subscribe and check us out on all of our social media pages. Again, we're going to be posting updates on there with the live stream. Check us out at Last Place FP. That's Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Check us out. So thank y'all.
One more time, Ethan.
Oh
Never
yeah, take it
forget,
away.
Ryan, do not forget. Sometimes you are right. Sometimes you're right. We'll see y'all next time.
We'll see you next time. And actually, by this time, we'll see you for the NFL draft.
Yeah, we'll see you very shortly after you watch this.